So I met Dr. Michael Miller just driving around a neighborhood that I was canvassing, looking for deals in. And I watched this house under construction pretty much throughout the entire phase. And then when I met him, it was at his open house. And I was just amazed of the craftsmanship, the floor plans, and his style of marketing to get his property sold. He really brings the community in. He involves the people in the neighborhood, and it's a snowball effect. I watched him from that one house. He flipped about maybe from my knowledge, maybe about 7 to 10 more properties in that neighborhood. And from there, we've built a relationship just through staying in contact with each other. He's invited me out to more of his open houses, and we now refer each other different resources, from contractors to other resources that can support our businesses. So what I like to do, when you all, number one, when you hear his story, somebody coming from his background, if he can become a success story, anybody in this room has the ability to become a success story. It doesn't matter what your background is. Right now in just his real estate business, he's renovating 40 plus houses a year. And he's not borrowing any money to do it. He's using his own funds. So this is a gentleman that really knows what he's doing. He's self-taught. Okay? He's had mentors along the way throughout his life. But without any further ado, if we could get out of our seats for a moment and give Dr. Michael Miller a warm DMV welcome. Dr. Michael Miller. Thanks, Mike. Wow. Never interviewed a best-selling author, so I'm excited.
First, let me to all of you, so Christian brothers and sisters, read all the words, praise the Lord. To all of you of Islamic faith, read the words, assalamu alaikum. To all of you of a Jewish faith, read the words, peace, shalom. To all of you who may be Catholics, sprinkle. All of you who may be too ignorant to believe in anything, go what's up. I just want to say thank you for inviting me to be part of this special occasion and this time. Much of my background has been high school dropout with the GED. I became a father at age 13, senior friend at 16. I could no longer read my back to school, got my GED, went from GED, overheard about me being a single parent, and going to school not knowing how to read. So at that time, she paid for me to go to Morehouse College. I'm the first to break national record to go from a GED to a degree in 3 semesters with a 4.0 GPA. Went from there, went to Morehouse College when I graduated, where she continued to pay for me to go to school. Harvard, student at Harvard University. I did went to Oxford, where I competed to be a Rhodes Scholar. I didn't get it, but I did compete. And then I went to Johns Hopkins, where I received my PhD. So that's where most of my background has been in terms of education.
Okay. So where are you from?
Baltimore, Maryland. Proud Baltimore. Yes.
And what was it like, Mike, growing up in Baltimore?
Much different. You guys have seen The Wire. You've seen much of that, how it's been. it was like I was at that crossroads where I was in and out of juvenile detention centers, and so I also did a little bit of everything, and so it's you're either gonna swim or drown in Baltimore. There's no in between there. Those who make it out okay. Those who don't, it's kind of quite arduous and challenging.
Right.
But I just thank God somehow He found favor, pulled me out of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mike, I know I shared this with you. One of my best friends grew up in the same neighborhood that you grew up in.
Yeah.
And I know his story. One of my parents was a substance abuser. Both of his parents were, but he made it out of the same housing projects. And one of the things that really, really intrigued me about your story, I haven't read your entire book, but the parts I did read is that this gentleman went to Morehouse and he actually told the president of the school or the dean of the school that they were going to accept him and they were going to pay for him to go to school. And he spoke that into existence. And I spoke about, changing your mindset, because for you to come from where you came from and my best friend come where he came from to where you all are at today, you had a mindset shift.
Yeah, and I do want to speak on that. You got to understand the blizzard of 2000, if those remember, the blizzard of 2000 was the biggest blizzard we've ever had. And at that time, I had 35 different scholarships. Harvard, Yale, Duke, Princeton, you name it. And this one black school, they didn't have a scholarship. And so at the time at Morehouse, they had, it was more so like, most of the rich kids just went there. They just paid the father, grandfather. Most entertainers, folks who had a lot of money went there. And I was the poorest kid that went there. But one thing I did have, even though I didn't have the money, I had drive, right?
Yeah.
Ever since I was a kid, I always worked. When I was 5 years old, I was 5 or 6 years old, I was carrying bags at the market, cutting grass, raking leaves, doing the marble steps in the summer, you name it, shoveling snow. There was never a time where I didn't work. So I've always had drive. And that's one thing I knew that I had. And so when that one school that I didn't have, when I went there, because that one little shining school, they didn't have a scholarship for people like me.
Right.
So I said, okay, why is it that all these other schools want to give me money, but Morehouse? So I decided to drive through a blizzard, something that would have taken me 11 hours, took me 23 hours to get there. Wow. And I demanded the dean see me. And he was like, to make a long story short, he was like, no, I have a board meeting. I said, you're going to see me right now. I said, or I'm going with you. Show me where the board meeting is. We're going together, know. So he's like, no. He said, okay, I'll give you my card. I said, no, you didn't give me that card, bull crap. No, I need to know before I leave in writing. Because I walked in there and I said, I'm Mike Miller. He says, I know who you are. Because at that time I was on the front of Ebony Jet and a lot of magazines and media outlets. And when the media story was being highlighted, he says, I know exactly who you are. And I said, no, I need to know whether I got a scholarship. And I know y'all don't have it, but you're going to make one happen here today. I give you my card. Just talk to me. I need to know. And so, make a long story short, he offered me a full-ride scholarship.
Wow.
And then on my way back to Baltimore, someone heard one of the presidents of the DC Alumni Association said someone heard about your story and want to meet you. It was Oprah Winfrey, and want to invite you to her show.
Yes.
So when I got to the show, was interviewed on the show, she was like, hey, I want to send you to school, whatever school you want to go to. And I was like, nah, school ain't for me, I'm a thug, school ain't for everybody. And she was like, oh, okay, look, whatever school you want to go to, I'll pay. So I had a scholarship at Morehouse, and I had the open money. So that's when I really knew the meaning of double for your trouble,
Right.
because I had a double chance to go. So that's how that came about.
Okay. Now, Mike, I also read that you gave back to the community through, I believe, the scholarship money. Could you share with us how you have given back to the community and the initiatives you have put in place?
The second time I was on Oprah Winfrey Show, was a show called Where Are They Now? For the three scholars who had beat the odds, me, another guy that went to Harvard, and another guy went to Yale, and I went to Morehouse College.
Okay.
And so I was the only one who she paid to continue to go to PhD, because when I finished, there was some money left. I said, look, hey, I was a thug, but I was an honest thug, So she gave me $100,000 to go to school. I said, it's about $52,000 left and 13 cents. I got some money left. So she was like, well, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know, because when I first went to school, I just want to get a GED to get a good government job, not government, but government job. And so she was like, oh, okay. So
you said it like that on the show?
No, I was on the phone.
Okay.
But on the show, she asked me, what are you going to do? I was like, you going to go to college? I was like, nah, I'm a thug. I'm so embarrassed about that show. I'm a thug.
Can we find the footage on the internet?
Yeah, we can. Yeah. I'm a thug. It ain't for me. I'm saying, I ain't driving like this high. I'm saying, so I was like, no, that college thing, I don't really like that stuff. Plus, I ain't like college folk because they was kind of arrogant. Like they made it like, I got mine, you get yours. I don't like the college people. They want to beat them up and stuff. You know what I'm saying? I used to go to college like Morgan, slash their tires and stuff. So if you have your tires slashed me to Morgan, I was me.
No, I wasn't in college then.
I was a piece of work, man. God.
But you came a long way, though.
Yes. So the money piece came in because afterwards, on the show, Where Are They Now? And after the show, I said, look, so the book became a New York Times bestseller. She had invested $576,000 in just my education.
Wow.
From undergrad all the way to PhD, right? So I come back to
Oprah Winfrey.
So I come back to her, and I'm like, look, New York Times bestseller now. I'm going to pay your money back.
Right.
So I come with a check, like, look, hey, and because, I don't want to get too emotional, but I come back, give her the check, and she was like, I said, I want to pay you back. And I even had that plus interest on it,
wow.
10% interest, want to give her money. She's like, nah, keep the check. And I said, well, how can I pay you back? She said, pay it forward. I said, I don't know anything about pay it forward. I just got my GED. Tell me what you made. So she was saying, like in so many words, that, if one person help another person, it's going to help another person, it's going to help another person. If everybody did that, the world would be a better place.
Right.
And so I said, okay, boom. With me, you only got to tell me one time and stuff. Okay, I got it. So now I send about 20, anywhere between 12 to 20 kids to school a year. For ride, I pay for everything. The only thing that I must be very specific because I get parents who ask me this all the time. I don't pay for like linens and women's toiletry. So people say, well, look, my kids got to school, but they got transportation, how to get out of town. No, it's just full tuition, room and board. Be grateful and thankful for that.
Right.
And so, and the other thing I do is I do a college tour that comes from Maryland to Florida. And 300 kids going from Maryland. We go do a bus tour all the way down to Florida. 300 kids that come from Florida all up to Maryland. 600
wow.
kids. And they basically go on a spring break, 6 days, 5 nights. And they go to college tours. And, everything paid for. Free, room and board, everything.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I say that to say that you really, especially all you guys in this room, you really need to
think about a reason why you're doing what you're doing. I've always said that aspiration plus inspiration leads to motivation. You have to find something, something or someone that inspires you, right? Or the reason why you're doing what you're doing. It's going to keep you motivated. It's to keep you in the game. And a lot of times, if you'd have asked me before I broke this record or whatever by being a senior parent, I would have gave up a long time ago, right? But because I put my children at the forefront of what I wanted to do, that person or that child or that being that I love became more important. It's just easy to quit on yourself. Most of y'all go today, I quit. It's easy.
Right.
Because you don't love yourself enough. It's a pivotal difference between loving yourself and loving yourself enough. Some of y'all are just infatuated with who you are. You understand? And you'll realize later on that love is really more chemistry than it is biology. That's a whole nother subject. We'll talk about that later. But the bottom line is when you love yourself that much, or when you love yourself enough, because if I ask you, do you love yourself? You say, yeah, I love, of course I love me. That's just what I do. I get my hair done, I do this, and I buy myself a nice car, all those other great things. But when you really, 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 truly love yourself, you want more for yourself.
Absolutely.
Not only do you want more for yourself, but you want to do more for other people. You understand? See, I daydream a lot, but just enough. Because there's a poem from Rudyard Kipling that says, if you can dream but not make dreams your master, if you can think but not make thoughts your aim. So you can dream about it. I used to always think, you know what, I just want to help people. I want to do this, I want to do that. And this is when I'm poor now,
Right.
When I have anything. And I'm like, I want to be at a community center, I want to do this, I want to be able to just do that. And, and sometimes you got to have it on the inside. And so I think that success ought to be tied to that and not just money.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know a lot of stuff that what I'm saying may be out of sync with whatever is being taught, but I truly believe that whatever you're doing, especially, yes, in this real estate business, you're going to make some money. A whole lot of money. It's a great thing. But if it's not tied to helping somebody or doing something, it won't be blessed.
Right.
That's just something on a spiritual note. It ain't got nothing to do with a curriculum-based thing. But if you really, really, truly, this is just my opinion. I mean, what I'm saying may not even be true to a lot of y'all. This is just what I believe. But I just believe that if you really want to be successful, it ought to be tied to helping somebody. You know what I mean? As the old adage goes and saying, if I could help somebody as I pass along the way, if I can cheer somebody with a word or with a song, then my living would not be in vain. And so I always think about, and I always thought about, while I was poor, broke, and have a dime, who can I help? And when I get this money, I was crazy then. I'm like, man, if I get this money,
You had a vision.
Yeah, I'm gonna do this, and and sometimes God, not sometimes, but all the time, God knows your heart. Mm-hmm. So if your heart is not right going into it, and you know that you're not really going to make millions to give away millions away, God knows your heart. He may not bless that thing. But if you got the right heart, and God knows that you really, truly, truly want to help people, you want to do things for people, you want to see people succeed, you see things happen in your community, and you really want to make change about, then you ought to think about those things. Because that particular thing or things will keep you motivated in the game when you feel like giving it and throwing in the towel. You feel me?
Absolutely. Over the weekend, I have been sharing different books that I read, and a book that's currently in our library is A Promise to Persevere by Dr. Michael Miller. And the foreword was done by Dr. Ben Carson. And I actually read his book. My grandmother forced my brother and I to read his book, Thinking Big, when we were teenagers after losing both of our parents. That was the first book my grandmother put in our hands. You actually were able to work with or be mentored by Dr. Ben Carson What has that experience been like coming up?
Wow. You know, actually, truly, how Dr. Ben Carson even became writing the foreword to my book is really, I honestly, I just been blessed. That's all I can say. I can't even really say this really me for real. You know, when I wrote a foreword, I wrote a book. When I first originally wrote the book, someone else was on the foreword,
Okay.
right, that I won't mention by name. And during that time, he had gotten into a lot of trouble, right? And it's like the publisher company's like, wow, this happening, and this person's on on the forward of the book,
Right.
Like they are bad news for you.
Right.
So I'm like, oh gosh. So I go back to Atlanta, and I'm on a book tour, and I was at a conference. They said, "Is that so and so and so and so?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." He pulled out this big old knife and stabbed the poster and cut it up. If I ever see him, I'm gonna cut his tongue out. I said, "Oh my God!" So I go back to Atlanta, and then it's like, God, what am I gonna do? You set me up for failure. I didn't want to write the book anyway. I didn't want to put myself out there. I gotta say things like, I once couldn't read, and you messed up God, you messed up my cool points with the ladies. I can't get no girls when I'm saying stuff like that. So I'm like putting myself how poor I was and all that. I didn't want to talk about this stuff. It's difficult. Now I get out there, and this happens.
Yes.
I'm mad with God. We arguing in my room. You did this, all that other stuff. And so, phone rings 5 minutes later. It says, "Hello, can I speak to Michael Miller?" I said, "Who's this?" I said, "Ron, I noticed you playing on my phone, talking about my cousin, right?"
Okay.
So I ain't got no time for this for real. I'm going through a lot of stuff right now. And this is the wrong time. I said, "Who is this?" "This is Benjamin." "I don't know, damn Benjamin, goddamn." "Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me." I said, "I don't know Benjamin. I don't know you." "This is Benjamin Carson." "I don't know no Benjamin Carson." So now, let me tell you how crazy how God was, right?
Right.
The first book I ever read when I learned how to read as an adult was Gifted Hands.
Right.
So he's calling me, right? He's calling me. He says, so I said, "Look, if you don't tell me who you are in 3 seconds, I'm about to hang up. Bye, bye, bye." I was real ghetto then. "Bye, bye, bye,"
Right.
He says, "Hold on, brother. This is Dr. Ben Carson, Chief Pediatric Neurosurgeon." I was, "Oh, God, Dr. Carson, I'm so sorry." Right? He says, "Oh, I read your book, and I'm really interested in meeting you. You got to come up to my home. I want to meet you. My kids want to meet you. My wife want to meet you." I said, "Okay,
It's just how he talks.
right?" So I flies up, and I'm still like, "God, you let this happen." So boom, come up to the house, and we have dinner at his house, and he was like, "Can I do a book blurb?" Book blurb is a praise on the back of the book. I said, why do you want to?" He says, "Man, that's one of the best books I've ever read in my life." I said, "No, not me, Dr. Your book, Gifted Hands and all that stuff." And so he was like, so I knew what had happened over the weekend had happened. I said, "Shoot, my ghetto behind." I'm like, "Shoot, you can write the whole book, the foreword if you like." He said, "Oh, I'd be honored." I said, "No, I was just joking. Little joker jokes, see? Little joke, see? Little joke. So he says, "No, seriously, I'd be honored." He ordered 10,000 books to give away to kids.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, look at how he done made this happen, right? So he got on the book, and shortly after that, New York Times, just went elevated from there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, Mike, I really appreciate you sharing the backstory, because people, they hear about success in real estate, they hear about success in business, but you pretty much let people into your life, let them know where you came from to where you're at, from the housing projects to Oprah's show to sending children to college every year, to the bus tours of thousands and thousands of teenagers that are able to see the different. Do you just do HBCUs or you do all types?
All schools.
All schools. That's amazing. Mike, how did you stumble into real estate?
Well, things has gotten okay, and I was around, speaking and motivational speaking everywhere, and I was somewhere 10 times a week speaking. I just got tired. I love what I did. Don't get me wrong, but it was like I was everywhere, 3 cities in a day. It was like too much, and I was away from my children, So I had to choose family first.
Absolutely.
So I said, okay, I had to retire. So financially, I was decent. Able to retire, had some money, and I said, okay, let me start this retirement life. So I'm like 39 years old. So I said, okay, let me fly here, fly there, because I'm used to being on a plane.
Right.
But I'm always flying somewhere for something else, and I go speak. So I go fly here. I'm like, okay, let me go do this. This is what I want to do when I retire. After a while, retirement got boring.
So just taking vacations began to get boring.
Vacations, going places, like, okay. Because, it was just me. I was a single parent, and it's like, okay, we're going to do this. And now the kids were starting to become of age where they're like, Daddy, you need to find a girlfriend. God, because I was like, what are you doing? They wanted me to be busy doing something else.
Right.
Not always home, I'm like, nah, y'all don't need to stay, in boarding school anymore. Y'all can be home with Daddy. Oh, Dad, really? Are you serious? Oh my God! So yeah, no, I want to be home with y'all every day and see y'all. Oh God, So then one day I was home, and retirement kind of got real boring, to me after a while.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool. It was great. Then I was watching. I'm not even really into watching flipping shows and flip this house and all that. So I watched one show. I looked at that and I was like, I can do that. Wait a minute. I can really do that. You know what, Mikey? I can do that.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? I can do that, but better. You know what I mean? I ain't never flipped a house. I don't know nothing about flipping a house. Any of that. And everything what I'm doing may be, all of my stuff is really unconventional how I do things with flipping houses. But I was like, I can do that, but better. But it was a reason. What I talked to y'all earlier about that. You got to find that reason, that aspiration. My parents grew up in a house and they never owned a house, and that meant something to me. And
right.
The landlord who we rented from, his name was Mr. Fishcon. And, I was like, and he was a slumlord. And I was saying, even when I was a kid, I was like, if I ever own a house, be a landlord, I'd never be like that. I'd never rent a house. And I saw how, the kind of conditions, but, I'm a family of 9, all same mom and dad. My father, he worked full-time, and in evening time, he was what we call in Baltimore, a hack, like Uber. He was an old school Uber, back in the day.
Maybe
you call
one of those guys.
I need a ride,
I always think, did they get into a hack and then develop the software?
That's what they did. They said, okay, I see people in Baltimore hacking, so we're going to develop Uber, So they got it from my dad, No, I want my money,
And if you're from Washington, D.C. and Prince George's County, you don't know what a hack is. Basically, in Baltimore, instead of calling a cab, we would just do like this off the curb, and a car will pull over and take you to your destination.
Right. So my father worked in construction, all day long. And when we were children, my father would take us to places like Columbia, Maryland, right? With people more progressive. And because my father believed you can't be what you can't see.
Right. Y'all may want to write that down.
So he could not be as rich. He wasn't as rich. And so he was like, I may be poor, but I want y'all, he built the roads in Columbia, So he was like, I want y'all to see what I do, And so he'd take me to the roads, but he would also take us to all these real nice houses, right? These real nice houses and huge houses. And even when I was a kid, I was like, wow, look at that. And things like stuff like that always stuck with me, So even before I had a PhD, I used to write PhD behind my name just to know what it feels like. You understand what I'm saying? Like I had to, even when you go in a restaurant, you already know what you want to eat, but what you do, you look at the menu so you can experience the food you want to eat, right? And so when I wrote it at the time, even though I didn't have the PhD, I had a GED, but the PhD at that time meant like public high school diploma. You know what I'm saying? But to me, it was like a PhD, and I had to make it. Y'all crazy. I had to make it into something, and I had to just put doctor in front of my name. Absolutely. Just to experience, because I couldn't be what I couldn't see. And I got that from my father, who only had an 8th grade education. You know what I'm saying? So it was like he would take me to these big houses, and it's like, wow, look at these houses, look at this, look at that, right? So that's why even to the day, I only associate with people who are actually kind of like going somewhere. Absolutely. You understand what I'm saying? So, my circle of friends are very important to me. I don't even fool around with crazy folks.
Absolutely.
Because when I first went into the housing game, people was like, oh, Michael, that's crazy. You don't know nothing about a housing. You don't have no background in housing. You don't know how to even put a hammer to a nail, and you want to build a house. All this old crazy stuff. But I'm crazy. So this is something new for me.
Right.
It's cool because I'm crazy enough to do it and just make something. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do this thing. Because the reason, what I told y'all about before, was because I grew up, and one thing Mr. Fishcon told me, he said, your father was never late on his rent for 24 years. But we lived in the slums of this house. I said, this don't make sense to me. The flip side is I saw the big houses that my father would take me to of the roads that he would build. So now it's like, okay, Michael, see, for me, everything got to be a reason for me. I just can't do something. It's like, you know what, I'm going to make some money. I'm going to make, because it's empty promise. It's got to be tied to something.
Absolutely.
For me. Because if it don't, I'll give up. Like money for me is not just money, it's resources, because I can send kids to school. I can send my children's children to school. You understand what I'm saying? It's got to be tied to something. You can't just say make money. There is a pivotal difference between hunger and a craving. See, because if you ask me, if you come home and says, Mike, I'm hungry, any type of food will satisfy you. I can give you Wendy's, I can give you McDonald's, I can give you Burger King, you can have it your way. If you're down south, I can give you the Waffle House. But if you say, Michael, I have a craving for a filet mignon, medium well, from Ruth Chris. Good God. Now you have gotten to be more specific. Right. And the more specific you are, the more powerful your goals and dreams have. So it wasn't just about being successful. Successful for what? For the reason why. And why? See, most people come in, exactly. Most people come in and say, I just want to be successful. What is that? That's general. I just want to make a lot of money. That's general. I just want to be, loved. Good God Almighty. That's general. But if you're more specific about, this is what I want, this is how I want it, and this is what I want to do, you're more specific about your goals, and that has power. Anybody ever had one of those mothers that would send you to one side of the house, to the other side of the house, until you turn off the lights? My mama would be in the same room, call me downstairs, Micah! And I come, yes, Micah! She didn't call my whole name, Micah. Micah! I come downstairs, yes, And I said, she would call me up the street. I'll be 2 blocks, my car. And call me. I come all the way down in the house, get in the house. Turn off that light switch right there for me, please. And, you know,
I remember those days. I was had to get the cup of
head,
ice.
Yeah. In my head, my mother, because back, you know, that was back in the days when you would get a beating for your thoughts. See, y'all kids don't get beatings no more. My mom will beat you for your thoughts, what you thought about saying. You better even have thunk it. And it's been times I just got a beating for just coming in because in my mind, I thought about, what the hell you had me turn off this light for? And, you know, she, you know, not the beating that y'all beat y'all children with. My mother would beat the black off you. I was light-skinned many of my days. But she would send me from one side of the house to the other side of the house to turn off the light, right? And then, so one time she called me 2 blocks up, my car. And I come running down the street because I was keen to my mother's voice.
Absolutely.
And I came all the way in, came in the house. She says, go into the stove. She didn't say store, stove. Go to the stove. Get me 1 pint of butter pecan Haagen-Dazs ice cream. Y'all ain't never had, have y'all ever had Haagen-Dazs? Oh, God, it's so good. I almost cursed. That's some good ice cream. That's all I'm saying. So she sent me to the store. Go and get me 1 pint of butter pecan, what? What?
Ice cream.
Me and my crazy behind. She gave me the $4. I went to the store. I said, you know, back in the day, I can get the hell. I don't know what Haagen-Dazs, I can't even spell Haagen-Dazs, but I can put $2 of these dollars in my pocket. Get me not just a pint, but a gallon. Right? Of butter pecan ice cream. I went to the store, brought it back, gave it to her. She said, what is this? I said, that's butter pecan ice cream. No, take this back to the store and give me what I want. Be very, very specific. The more specific you are, the more powerful your thoughts and dreams you have. It's not just money. Money for what? To do what? So I said, you know what? This is what I want to do. I don't know nothing about doing any houses. Right? I'm going to do this. And I don't know what people are doing, how they're doing it, but if I do a house, it's going to be fabulous. It's going to be nice. It's going to be just like, almost like the $1 million house, but it's going to be in a $150,000 house. It's going to be in a $200,000 house. It's going to be in a $300,000 house. Why can't they have what the other folks have?
Absolutely.
In their house.
Absolutely.
So I was more specific. This is what I want. And the reason why I want to do it, because I'm going to send more kids to school. The more money I make, the more resources. Because money is what? The more resources that I have to do more things. Right?
Absolutely.
So I said, okay, after retirement, it was like spending my own money. But if I'm flipping houses again, I can still use those resources and make a difference, because you can make $1 and a difference at the same time. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, how can I still make $1 and a difference? Because years ago, if someone was making money, I had a negative connotation, like, you know, that person got something. Something's not right. But it was like, maybe what they want to do is want to help people. So I said, okay, this is the kind of house I want to build. This is what I want to do. And this is the reason for it. And Michael, if you ever get tired or fed up about doing houses, remember who you're doing it for. And that is what kept me in the game. So I started on my first house, and I said, okay. And so I wanted, my thing that I like to do is trace ceilings. I like trace ceilings. I didn't want to just do the partial gut. I want to do a whole gut, and I want to maximize my money. And so one of the things that I do a lot of trace ceilings, and a lot of strap. I put hardwood floors in the ceilings, crazy stuff. And I let every contractor or everyone I deal with that, listen, you're not going to make $1 million off of my one house. You ain't going to do it.
He's dropping some nuggets right now.
Yeah, it is not going to happen with me. Okay? Now, you ain't going to be a millionaire with me. You're going to be a thousandaire. But, you know, the more of those, it's about numbers.
Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying? It's about numbers for me. So I let a lot of contractors are trying to get rich off of one contract. It ain't gonna happen with me. One thing I can promise you is that I'm gonna keep your firm busy. And I'm gonna keep you busy the entire time. So it's like, it's not just one house, but 40, 50, 60 houses. And that's how my negotiations begin to change. You know, and also I kind of like built my own team because I'm you know, a lot of contractors, just me personally, I just don't trust a lot of contractors. I've seen people who get out there, they start flipping houses and they fail and they says, nah, the hell with flipping houses. It wasn't had nothing to do with flipping houses. Yep. It's who you were dealing with. You had no one to kind of show you the ropes, and you went out there and tried to do your own thing. Because in this business, you can spend $50, $100, $200,000 easily, real fast. And you said, what happened? I just had this. What happened with my money? Just as, especially with building a house, because what you're doing is you are rebuilding an entire house. And if you're not smart, you'll get charged retail for everything in the house, be it electric, plumbing, HVAC, sheetrock, painting, whatever. So, you know, I began to build houses and it wasn't just building houses, but I needed to maximize my profit, right? So it's like for each of my houses, I make at least $100,000 off of each of my houses, right? But I give them what they want. The last 2 houses I did in Ashburn, it was Baltimore's first totally Bluetooth house.
We just mentioned Ashburn was one of the top neighborhoods.
Not just in Baltimore, but in Maryland.
In Maryland.
Total home automation, right? Where you touch the doorknob and open up with your fingerprints, right? Where you don't have to be at home, you can turn off the lights and not be in the house, right? Where the speakers you've been through the house.
Absolutely. Speakers
all throughout the house, trace ceilings all throughout the house. You touch the lights, you know, the faucets, the lights coming in, all those little things mean something to me. See, y'all go on, a lot of times y'all go in houses, y'all do regular builder's grade stuff. I hate it. I can't stand it all in the house and I see the regular traditional Home Depot and Lowe's, whatever. Shop on Amazon, you find some really nice things. Or you can get some things from Home Depot, but you gotta have a nice fixture, something that's gonna stand out and make that house like, you know what? That's it. So when they come to my house, they say, oh man, I got all the bells and whistles in this house. When they come to my house and your house is on the market at the same time my house, most likely my house is going to sell quick, faster than yours. Mine's within 1 week, I got a contract. It's because when you go in there and you do the general basic thing you're going to do in your house, you're competing with everybody else. See, I'm in a competition by myself because I put all the bells and whistles and everything in the house. And then guess what? Every time they come in this house, they're like, you know what? Oh my God, this is the house. This is the dream house. This is it. What we gonna do? Oh my God, who's your agent? Okay, I'm gonna have my, you know, a lot of times they don't even have an agent. Well, what's the agent? Oh, okay, an agency? No, it's an agent. Okay, I'll call you. And then they get an agent and they put a contract on a house. They don't know what it is. But I'm a psychologist and I know everything is about perception, right? Everything is about how can I build this house? So if you put all the bells and whistles, they're gonna look at your house and then compared to this house and say, you know what, this house, the work is clean, it's nice, it has character, it's detailed. Look at all the craftsmanship in this house. Because a lot of time people do houses and somebody got to come in their pocket and spend more money. Nobody want to come in a house and spend more money and get the basement done. No, do that right away and build the value of your house. So that's what I knew off the bat going in. I'm going to give all the bells and whistles. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to make me $100,000 or $150,000 off each house. Well, you can't do that. And I never forget this one guy. And I say his name, and I don't care who knows, but his name is Chase Freeman. He may be a good guy, but he don't know what he did for me that day. He called me one day. He says, hey, you Mike Miller? I said, yes, that's me. He says, I took one of my agents to go see your house. It's really nice. Real nice, straight ceilings and everything. He says, by chance, I don't mean to be so nosy, but what do you plan on making in this house? First of all, he was telling me that I couldn't sell a house in Ashburn at the time for $169, $179, right? And see, that's why, because I told you I'm crazy. I don't even pay attention to comps or nothing. I just create my own comps, I just buy 5, 6 houses in the neighborhood, and I just sell. And I don't care about textbook stuff. So y'all go and, I just, to hell with comps. I'll make my comps, so I just put a whole bunch of houses in the neighborhood, and these are the comps, and these, I'm selling them, and they're going to become this and that. And so he called me, he says, and even my own agent, I had to buck my own agent. My agent said, you can't sell no house on a 3238 Sequoia for no 179. These houses go 129. I said, watch. Watch me. I've been an agent 13 years. I don't give a damn. You're going to do what I say, and you're going to put this house for 179. Well, I don't think you can do this, Mike. This is too much money. And then these are the comps in this neighborhood, and you just got to understand. I said, just do what I got to do. She put the house in 179. Then we had multiple offers. We had 15 offers on the house. The highest one was 192.
Wow.
You understand? I know psychology. I know how people think. Put it on a house. And damn it, to hell with the goddamn. Y'all forgive me. I keep cursing up here by accident. To hell with the comps. You make your own comps. You got to be bold.
On the retail side.
Yes. On the retail side. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to slay that house shouter. I'm going to put that back. You understand? It's something for me. I love it too. You got to love this thing. I mean, when I walk in a house, I be like, damn, that house is bad. You got to be I ain't bragging or nothing, but you got to, listen, if you don't say that about your house, and you be like, well, it's all right, you know what I'm saying? Need some work here and there. Everybody else going to say that same thing, because you ain't put enough in your house.
Absolutely.
I be looking at the house, I'm like, woo!
Now, Mike, I always ask this question, and I've already asked you this question. Whenever I meet somebody that's successful, I always want to know what principles they built their success on. As I asked Mike, what time do you start your day? Mike's already successful. He doesn't even have to do real estate, but he does this to give back. What time do you start your day? Because most people that are just getting started, they're used to getting up possibly 7:30 to get to work by 9. Some 10. You don't even have to get out the bed, but what time do you get up?
5:30.
5:30.
5:30, sometimes 5:05. I don't even set my alarm. I just get up. I get up 5. People tell me all the time, well, I start my own business just so I can get up and go whenever I feel like it. Nah, that's a big lie. I get up because I'm not just hungry, but I have a what? The craving and hunger is totally different. So my day and who I'm doing it for. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm doing it. So I'm not getting up. I'm not doing things on my own accord. It's about who I'm doing it for. Right? And y'all got to realize, look.
And not just the children, because I've watched you employ people in the community.
Of course. It's definitely not about the church. I got to get the whole community into this thing. I got a lot of people who are working for me, right? And it's like, I get a chance to change somebody's life. You know, and it's like, if you're going to do this thing, if you're going to, you know, see, I don't believe in just jumping a little bit. I just jump all the way in. It's like, this is what I'm going to do. I don't care, you know. But this has got to not just be your career. It's got to be your calling. I was telling someone the other day, there's a pivotal difference between a career and a calling. A career is what you're paid for, but a calling is what you're made for, right? You have got to be able to take what I'm taking, and it's got to become you. It's not just about, well, I got this information, I got the knowledge now, I got the power, right? It's not about, don't throw that thing out the window that knowledge is power. That's not true. Right? Knowledge is just information. It doesn't matter what you put in your head. It matters what you put in your hand and your feet when you get back home, right? The problem that we have a lot of people who are information junkies, but not application addicts, right?
Right.
So they get the junkie, they get, I got the knowledge, and they get all this information, and they're sitting there with it.
You have to apply.
You got to apply this thing, and you got to make it happen. You got to make, and it's not about you. Y'all think it's all about it. It's not about you. It's about helping somebody. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be saying this stuff, right? Because I don't know if this is what you're teaching already.
Some of this stuff you're piggybacking right on.
Okay.
We started our day with why are you here?
People keep thinking about the money. It's about doing something for somebody. It's about putting your family, and you owe that to them. Believe it or not,
Obligated.
You owe that to them. You owe that to your children, right? To put your, not just a foot forward, your best foot forward. If I don't put my best foot forward when I walk out the house, I'm cutting them short. So you owe them, if you can, to be able to retire. What will retirement do? One thing it does, it eases your mind that you don't have to worry about how am I going to pay this bill. I done paid. I have all my houses free and clear. I have 46 rentals, 36 in Atlanta, and so I have over 70-something houses, and I flip about 50 a year. But it's a good thing to get to a point where you don't owe anybody anything. It's a total different mindset you have. Your walk, your swagger begin to change. So, you think you got a swagger right now. Woo! No, I'm just joking, y'all. I'm crazy, I keep telling y'all. But things begin to change. But the more important thing is that when you tie it to helping somebody. See, one of the things is not just getting up. When you get up 5:30 in the morning, but what do you got to do the first thing you do? First thing I do, I clear my head. I thank God for another day. Because if you think you were supposed to wake up that day, you crazy. You understand? You see this kind of stuff happen every day in Baltimore?
Absolutely.
Every day I walk in Baltimore, somebody could have driven by and just shot me up every time. But God found it enough to be able to spare me another day. That's a great thing to me. So I thank him for what he's done, what he's doing, and for everything, every vision. Because I be having crazy vision. People say, and you only in your third or fourth year, you're not supposed to flip that many houses. You only I promise you by year 12 or 15th year in real estate, you can do as many as 5 houses a year. No. My mind is so crazy. I be leaving like Marcel, I'm telling you, I be having crazy goals. Like, this is what I'm doing now. And next year, I'm going to do about 250 houses.
That's going to happen. Too.
Just saying, my mind, you got to think crazy like that. Now, here's what that power of intent will do. In martial arts, we have this thing, I'm a fifth degree black belt. The power of intent, when you begin to punch somebody, right? You don't just punch at the object, you punch way past the object, right? And when you punch through it, instead of at the object, here's what will happen. When you have a goal that is that big and that crazy, right? You may have only wanted to flip 5. But because of your power of intent, you done flip 20, 30, 40, 50. You didn't went past your goal. Because it's not about you. You owe it to your children. Your children, some of y'all have children in this room that when they graduate, to send them to school debt-free if you can. Not just that, not just your children. You got to buy your mama. You know how we got to buy our mama a house. You got to buy your mama a house. You got to buy your mama a house, and then you got to help somebody in that community. I'm telling you, let me tell y'all something. The greatest thing, greatest feeling in the world is people, it's not even about having money and none of that. The greatest feeling in the world is being able to help somebody. Because when you begin to give, and Marcel, I'm sure you know this, when you begin to give money, you help somebody, you like, you know what, this is what I'm doing, I did this with somebody, it's like, it can almost put tears in your eyes. Like, man, that's what I did for somebody.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, you know, it goes back to that, it's not just about you, it's about helping somebody else that can help somebody else that can help somebody else. You know, and that, I never went into this game thinking that I was going to fail. Because I'm crazy. I mean, my mind is crazy. Me? Fail? I don't know anything about failure. In my mind, I'm so crazy that I believe when God said you can do anything, all things are possible, right? So if that is possible, I can do anything. A lot of people really don't believe that. My mind is like, I want people in not just a house, I want them in a good house. I want a nice, stable house, and I can walk and I can sleep at night. See, a lot of folks who do this, it's in this housing game. I know folks who go in this housing game and they can't sleep at night because they know they did somebody wrong for the house. They know what's behind those walls. See? Trust me, this can be a dirty game. But I sleep at night. No, I'm putting them in a good house.
Mike, the folks in here that are just getting started, some folks that already have real estate investing business already, their business is already running. What advice would you give to those folks that are looking to go to the next level?
Stay hungry. Keep your craving, right? And think the impossible. See, the problem is a lot of times, don't think inside the box. Don't even think outside the box. But start to think that there is no box and start thinking. Don't think inside the box. Don't even think outside the box. But start thinking as if there is no box and start thinking. The problem with that my agent has, she started thinking about the comps and the comparables. I don't even think like that. This is what I'm going to do. And but if I want to raise the comps, I can do them. And a lot of it, you don't have to spend as much as everybody's thinking about.
Now comps, I just want everybody to be on the same page with us. Now, comps are very important when you do acquire the property. Would you agree?
Yes. The comps are they're very important. But if I want to raise the comp beyond what they are, I'm saying that is possible.
Absolutely. That is
possible. And everything I get north of that comp price now becomes, okay, in my mind, because I'm thinking about, with children, I say, okay, if I'm making $100,000 off this house, if the comps is down $225, if I do $275, the other $50,000 can go to the senior citizen building. And if I go $75,000 above that, then that means that 20 more kids can now go on this bus. That's how my mind be thinking.
Right.
And
so I was actually mentioning the acquisition end.
Yes,
because that's important.
That's very important because you don't want to buy a house. I'm in between a deal right now. This guy want to sell me a house, but he want to retail it to me. And number one, you can't retail something. It's a lot. It doesn't have a kitchen or a bathroom. So if you don't have a kitchen or a bathroom, then no one can get an FHA loan on that. Right. It's just not possible. I don't know who you think you're fooling. But he want to retail. No, all you got to do is do this. And, you can make a whole lot of money. I see what you're doing. Stop trying to count my money. You know what I'm saying? And that's the problem I have. People count my money. I saw what you sold with your last house. And I say, See, this is where comps become very important.
Right.
But sir, the comps are. The comps for this house is $60,000 as is. This is a wholesale house, okay? Now, you can take this, you can keep talking about that. See, he's thinking about what I make.
A scarcity mentality.
Yeah, you can tell me last night, well, you sold a house last week for $325,000. It doesn't matter, but the comps are. You understand? And, listen, I'm gonna put the house on the market, and I said, you never had the house on the market. It didn't sell. So take this $50,000 and shut the hell up. I told you I was crazy. But
are y'all enjoying this interview?
Yeah.
All right.
But sometimes you gotta get real with your buyers. And they always, yes, these are the comps for the acquisition. But a lot of times people are thinking about what you can make.
Right.
And sometimes I look into a house and the comps are north of what they're asking. But to me, that means what more I can put with this group or this youth, and it's, because I look in one house and say, okay, the plumbing is already in. The electrical, there's one house I just got, Marcel, it's bad. The electric was already done. The plumbing was already, they roughed in the entire house.
Wow.
The plumbing, the electric, the HVAC. So all I got to do is come in there, put my tray seals in the house, frame it up, new kitchen, new bathroom, hardwood floors, boom, it's a brand new house. You understand?
That's a great deal.
Yeah. So because I don't have the cost for the gut, not just the gut, but hauling the gut away. The trash bag and all the costs and shoot, and as well as the time back. I wouldn't have that. So for me, like the auction I just went the other day, if you have a plan, you want to flip 50 houses in a year, you have to flip at least anywhere between 4 to 6 houses to acquire 4 to 6 houses a month.
Right.
So my job, I have a total different process than a lot of people when it comes to flipping houses. Most times people go to a contractor, this is what I want, and this is what I want, boom, get in, get out. But my process, I created what I call the semi-line process, right? Well, I have 36 people working for me, right? And my gut guys, that's all they do is gut. You see, you're not going, in my houses, you're not going to be doing gut and framing.
Right.
No, you will become a master gutter, okay? That's all you're going to do is nothing but gut. If you are a framer, then you will be an expert in framing. See, this is how you bring excellence. Y'all, a lot of times, y'all get too many people, asking, well, what do you do? What do you, well, I specialize in everything. No, I don't want you next. No, but I can do everything. No, because you won't find perfection in every corner of your house. When I get in my house, the gutter is so important because the framer got to come behind a gutter. And if the gutter is great, the frame and everything else will be leveled, it's clean, and everything. The framing is important for the sheetrock. The sheetrock is only as good as the framing, right? The framing is very important, especially in my case because I'm doing all of the tray ceilings and everything else. That's very important for me. So the framing is because if you get another contractor and they say the frame was crooked, and then when the sheetrock guy comes in, he says, you know what? Well, I couldn't do this because the framing wasn't right. Or whenever the painter come in, he come in and says, well, it wasn't my fault. They didn't finish the sheetrock good enough. Nah, so I alleviate all of that. I have a gut crew, I have a framing crew, I have a sheetrock crew, and I have painters, right? Then I have my finishing crew. So with my guys, like assembly, like whenever a car is built, it's never one person who builds that car. And usually because when that does happen, you'll have one person who takes all the credit for your house.
And then they start saying things like, well, shoot, you go and grab me $15 every time you sell a house, start getting credit for what they're doing. So I get the gut guys, they be in a house 3 or 4 days, and they go to the next house 3 or 4 days, next house 3 or 4 days. And they come in, the gut guys come out, Then all the trade guys come in, the framers come in, they frame the house 3-4 days, and go to the next house 3-4 days. So there's a assembly line process. The sheetrock guys come in, they sheetrock, they're in there for about a week, but everybody laying sheetrock can't finish. So you may have your people who actually hang the sheetrock, but the people who's going to be doing the finishing work on the sheetrock is different, right? And that finishing is very important. So if you're a finisher, you're going to be a master finisher in one of my houses. Because by the time everything's coming, it's ready for painting. And if you're a painter, you're going to be a master painter. Because I can't stand painting and someone who's trying to, not crooked lines and stuff like that. So I want a person who's an expert painter. That's all they do is nothing but paint. All you do is nothing but sheetrock, all you do is nothing but paint, and I just keep on rolling from house to house to house to house. I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do, but that's just the way I do it.
That's actually one of the ways you can do it, especially to save costs and just hiring a general contractor.
Right.
Because I've been down that road, and tomorrow when we cover rehabbing, I'll share some of the horror stories that I've gone through. I'll share them with you when the crash happened. Mike, how important is it to have a mentor in life and in business?
I still have a mentor. My brother Denny, no matter how high I get, I'll always be looking up to him. No, he don't have all degrees, but he's extremely bright, extremely, Dr. Carson, great mentors, but outside of what I do, and even in what I'm doing. I even have mentors even in this. A lot of them look up to me like I'm their mentor, but there's people who I look up and say, you know what, these are people who I can bounce things off of, when I'm in the process of doing some things that I always, because a lot of time, you can feel like, you're out there on an island by yourself if you have no one to be able to bounce things off of to do what you're doing. I see a lot of people who actually get into this business. They go to the the Dan Merrill flip this house seminar, and they boom, I'm ready to flip a house now, and they go out there and they flip a house, and instead of them making money, they then lost $80,000 plus on top of what they put into a house. So you got to have someone who's going to be there who you can kind of talk to bounce things off of.
Would you agree that it's important to have someone in your local marketplace to work with and learn from and possibly hold you by the hand, just getting started or helping you take your business to the next level?
Yes, because that person is always accessible. If that person is accessible, then that's very important. If they are. A lot of people say they are accessible, they're there, and you can't talk to them, you can't find them, they're nowhere around. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say that. So, and you have to be very critical in the people who you use as your mentor. A lot of folks say they're mentors, but they're not there. So you have to, be very critical and research the people who you're going to work with, and then make your decision. But that's very important. It's not because you're going to flip a house and your mentor will be in Las Vegas, but when you're flipping a house in Baltimore, you're flipping a house in Prince George's County, the context of that particular area may be a little different. And the character of the area is always different when you're talking about flipping a house.
Excellent.
Not only for that purpose, but when you're dealing with a contractor. These contractors, there's a 91% turnover rate for contractors in the state of Maryland. And if that is so, you have to be very critical because they'll take your money, mm-hmm. and you be out of your money, and you be trying to think about, okay, well, I have this contract, I can sue them. You have to be very, very critical with me flipping my own houses. Like when state of Maryland contract, you person who was hired, MHIC license and all that, you had to put up a third, for them to buy their supplies and all that. I'm so critical of contractors, and if you have a mentor who kind of screen out a lot of contractors, that's a great thing. So I had a big issue with a lot of contractors. So what I was doing is, it would be a labor only. If you do something for me, it's a labor only contract because I just can't trust a lot of people who run off money. So, but if you got a person who's definitely going to be there,
go through with your product. I had a mentor, Antoine Johnson, a regular guy that I would see in Home Depot, and he was like, "Look, shadow me, go with me everywhere," and he helped me in a lot of the ropes, and that was very critical for me. That was very critical, and I took that little thing, that little nugget, and I just went off from there.
Excellent. Folks, were you able to get some nuggets from this interview? Dr. Michael Miller, it's been an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to have you share with us this evening. Again, the name of his book is A Promise to Persevere. You can find it on Amazon.